this is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
Hi, it's Jill Winterstein, host of the Spirit Daughter podcast, where we talk about astrology, natal charts, and how to step into your most vibrant life. And today I'm talking with my dear friend, Krista Williams.
It can change you in the best way possible. Dance with the change, dance with the breakdowns.
The embodiment of Pisces intuition with Capricorn power moves.
So I'm like delusionally proud of my chart.
Listen to the Spirit Daughter podcast starting on February 24th on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
I'm Nancy Glass, host of the Burden of Guilt Season 2 podcast. This is a story about a horrendous lie that destroyed two families. Late one night, Bobby Gumpright became the victim of a random crime. The perpetrator was sentenced to 99 years until a confession changed everything.
I was a monster.
Listen to Burden of Guilt Season 2 on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm Clayton Eckerd. In 2022, I was the lead of ABC's The Bachelor.
But here's the thing. Bachelor fans hated him.
If I could press a button and rewind it all, I would.
That's when his life took a disturbing turn. A one-night stand would end in a courtroom.
The media is here. This case has gone viral.
The dating contract.
Agree to date me, but I'm also suing you.
This is unlike anything I've ever seen before.
I'm Stephanie Young. Listen to Love Trapped on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
What if mind control is real?
If you could control the behavior of anybody around you, what kind of life would you have?
Can you hypnotically persuade someone to buy a car?
When you look at your car, you're going to become overwhelmed with such good feelings.
Can you hypnotize someone into sleeping with you?
I gave her some suggestions to be sexually aroused.
Can you get someone to join your cult?
NLP was used on me to access my subconscious.
Mind Games, a new podcast exploring NLP, aka Neuro-Linguistic Programming. Is it a self-help miracle, a shady hypnosis scam, or both? Listen to Mind Games on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
And we're
Okay, I'm recording.
All of that. Chris, every little bit of that goes into the episode.
Does it?
I'm Robert Evans.
Are you?
Hi.
This is Behind the Bastards with Matt Lieb.
Yep.
Hi, I'm back.
How are you feeling learning all this fun stuff about the Boy Scouts of America?
Oh, remember earlier when I was saying I always felt like I missed out and not being a Boy Scout?
Yeah.
I have a feeling that was God just looking out for me because this is going to get dark.
It is. It's so fucked up. Like, again, not to like center my own experience like in this, but it is weird to me that like, again, I know I've spent all of this time writing 20 pages on how fucked up the Boy Scouts are. I personally have like nothing but positive memories of my time in the Scouts. And it was weird. Like I didn't start to recognize, because we're not talking about a lot of the other stuff that's fucked up about the Boy Scouts. Like everyone knows, like they for decades would not let you be gay or trans or whatnot in the Boy Scouts. You'd be kicked out if you came out. You couldn't be an atheist. You didn't have to be a specific religion, but you had to acknowledge the existence of a higher power. There's like other stuff that they've been attacked for, and I get part of the reason why I'm not really focusing on that is that like that's bad. That is not something that would render an organization founded in 1910 fundamentally unsalvageable, right? A lot of organizations that old had weird attitudes, bad attitudes towards gay people, even racist attitudes, and can change over time. Be like, well, yeah, the people who founded us believe these things. The fundamentals of our organization are good, teaching people how to camp. We've grown. Right. That all, I think that the Boy Scouts could have grown past, the anti-LGBT thing, and they have started accepting kids who are gay and trans. I think they could have grown past the restriction to just boys, because now they do accept girls. They could have grown past a number of the problematic things. What you cannot grow past is enabling the rape of tens of thousands of boys. That cannot be redeemed. That's the thing.
That seems systemic.
It's one of those things like, yeah, an organization founded in 1910, people who made it probably had some weird beliefs on race and gender. And like, yeah, you can the organization, I think, can move past that as long as it acknowledges the flaws of its past and it confronts them head on, which I'm not saying the Boy Scouts did. Like they delayed way too long in reforming on that stuff. But I think that the thing that makes them unsalvageable, the reason I think the Boy Scouts just needs to be destroyed as an organization is the mass rape of children. Like that's, you can't, there's no getting past that.
No, that's,
there's no moving on.
Fair. That's a fair,
that's a fair problem.
It's a fair reason.
Yeah.
It's if not for the mass rape of children, I feel like it would be, an organization that could do some reforms,
move past its past. Yeah,
sure. But is that little thing where it was a mass rape of children?
The tens of thousands, potentially hundreds of thousands of boys raped. Yeah,
and thus also creating a cycle of abuse and predation due to the nature of early childhood sexual violence. Like that alone probably grounds that they should destroy the organization.
I don't feel differently about the Catholic Church, in fairness. It is weird. Like I can say, because again, I grew up very conservative. As I've said a number of times, if I had been like 16 in 2014, I might have wound up like alt-right for a while. Like I was really right-wing.
Right.
One of like the first cracks in that armor is when I'm not sure if I was 17 or 18. I think it was my senior year of high school. It was an academic decathlon, which is like a nerd thing. We had our own little like classroom. And if you were on the team, you could hang out in that classroom in between classes or during lunch, which as a nerdy kid who just wanted to read his Warhammer books, that was nice to do. And so I'm in there one day with another kid on the team who was in the Boy Scouts. We were in different troops, but he was, I think I had actually because I quit the Boy Scouts at like 15 or 16. He was still in the Boy Scouts and was like either 18 or almost 18 and was very close to getting his eagle. And, he and I were friends. We were sitting in the classroom one day and kind of in the middle of just sort of like, we're both reading separate books quietly alone in this room. He just looks up at me and tells me that he's gay. And this is the first person I ever met who, like, I knew was gay, who had, like, that I, like, had talked to me about it.
Right, yeah.
I said, okay. And he immediately after that, because it just, like, I think he just had to tell somebody, just burst out of him.
Sure.
And then immediately after that, he said, please don't tell anybody. Like, the most important thing in the world to me is finishing my Eagle Scout, is, like, getting my Eagle Scout. Like,
damn.
And they won't let me. And that was like, for me, a moment of less, like, well, that's really fucked up, actually. Like, that this kid who clearly loves the Boy Scouts, is dedicated to like what this organization stands for, is terrified of being kicked out for just like something. Like, it was just very obvious in that moment, like, oh yeah, that's clearly not a choice. Like the way he told me about it was just like this. He had to let somebody know. It was this thing that was, I don't know, that was a moment for me.
Sure.
And like I don't know, that's when I first started to think really critically about the Boy Scouts as an organization. Because again, I grew up in this right-wing, bubble. I guess I think it's like that one way or another for a lot of people. Like you live in this kind of ideological bubble until you like meet someone you care about, whose life experience contradicts the things that you just never thought about before.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Like, oh, I'm wrong about some really important shit.
Yeah. Sometimes it just takes that having an actual one-on-one or just a human experience to get you outside of like kind of the strict dogmatism of your like inherited ideology, where you're just like, of course I'm a libertarian. My dad's a libertarian and he raised me to be libertarian, and then you live life and you meet people who, in which the government was actually a necessary entity in their life. And you're like, oh shit. Like, people who just grow up in a bubble, I think as soon as they have that, bubble bursts a little bit, then they can kind of move past whatever, dogmatic ideology they have.
Yep. It is that thing where like the Republican politicians who have like a life experience that doesn't fit in with conservatism are like the ones who have these very public, like John McCain, arch Republican and everything but torture, because he was tortured.
Right. Exactly.
And was very consistently like, no, we can't, this is not okay. Fucking Dick Cheney, arch Republican and everything, but gay rights because his daughter's gay. And he's like, it's just, I mean, that's just how people are, I guess. So The Boy Scouts of America began operating what they called an ineligible volunteer file system in 1919. So Baden-Powell's still alive when this is like, and this is not just even, this is not primarily about sexual assault. This is, obviously you've got this growing organization, a bunch of men join it, and for one reason or another, they do not meet the standards that the BSA does have for adult volunteers. So they're not screening people, but people who do the job and are bad at it. And I think most of these people, again, are not molesting kids. They're like, they get some kid killed on a hike or some shit, right? Like they're irresponsible, you know? Like there's a lot of ways to be bad at being a scoutmaster, you know? You're taking kids into the woods. A number of things can go awry.
Usually pedophilia isn't the first problem when you're stranded alone in the woods with an adult that you would think of.
Yeah, and I think most of the men in the ineligible volunteer files had not purposefully harmed a child. They had just like fucked up in some way, probably some way that's like still deplorable, but like not, they're not trying to harm anybody.
Right.
A subset though of the ineligible volunteer list are men who had been caught or at least accused of molesting the children in their care. This subset of the ineligible volunteer system were dubbed the P files or perversion files.
Yeah, that's the P word.
Yeah,
I thought they would go with. Not pedophile, pederast. I mean, it's a lot of
not
P's.
Rape. Yeah.
P. Yeah.
So this starts in like the 20s.
The problematic files. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the problematic. So when Baden-Powell's alive, they do like attempt to, and again, they don't attempt to by screening people beforehand, but they do attempt to be like, oh, we should, if a guy gets kicked out for raping a kid, we should probably put his name in a file somewhere, right? Like we should probably write this down, huh? Which is the minimum, you know?
Bare minimum.
Like the barest minimum.
I just want to remember his name. That's it.
We should have a list of the guys who fucked the kids in our care.
Yeah. If I could also get their phone numbers just so we could talk and just strategize.
See if they have photos.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Do you want to go to the lake? Oh, Baden-Powell. So in 1975, the list was computerized, but there still existed a hard copy, and there is still one today, which reportedly fills 15 file cabinets at the BSA headquarters in Irving, Texas. Only a handful of men at the very top of the organization can access them, and the BSA is the Boy Scouts of America. So
you're right.
I should note when we talk about this is all focused on the BSA, which is not technically the organization Baden-Powell founded because it's very decentralized. So there's like the different countries, they're different like organizations, right? Effectively like different kind of corporations almost. And they're all kind of like linked and related to each other. And they do like people get together from different countries. But I mean, and the BSA is made in the image of what Baden-Powell talks about. I'm sure there is a lot on like abuses in like England and in the UK and in like other countries. The vast majority of the documentation on abuse within the Boy Scouts is within the BSA. And so that's what we're focusing on here today. Mm-hmm. So for decades, the files were either entirely unknown or at most a rumor to those outside the organization. They would occasionally make appearances, though. By the time Lord Baden-Powell died in 1941, there had already been multiple cases of child molesters who had been caught and convicted for what they'd done as Boy Scout leaders. This pattern continued up to the present day, and when those cases would end in criminal charges and trials, files on the perpetrator would often be admitted into evidence, usually under seal. This most frequently happened in the latter half of the 20th and early 21st century, when boys and groups of boys began to allege that what had happened to them, the abuse they had suffered, was not an isolated incident, but was instead the result of a pattern of abuse within the organization. The files contain often harrowing first-hand accounts from victims, like this interview with a 10-year-old scout in 1972, the victim of a sexual assault by Georgia troop leader Samuel Max Dubois, Jr. Quote, I was crying, and I reached around and hit Max in the face and said I was going to quit the troop and tell my daddy. Then we heard the others coming back, and Max said, put your pants back on.
Oh, my God.
That's like one of the less harrowing ones. I'm not gonna read in detail, but we will discuss what happened. Like I'm not gonna read detailed accounts of kids getting molested here.
Thank you.
But you do need to know like what broadly occurred, in these cases. That is important. The P files at least were something. So it's better than certainly doing nothing at all. But as a barrier to the assault of boys in care of the Boy Scouts of America, they were incredibly porous. To illustrate this, let's start with an illustrative case of abuse among the Boy Scouts from a little more than a generation after Baden-Powell's death. Stephen Field was a troop leader in Southern California. The BSA started investigating him in 1971 after a scout in Santa Monica reported that he'd been sexually abused by Field. A troop committee, which included parents, BSA officials, and a psychiatrist. So that's good, right? You're bringing like not just parents, but a professional in. That's a positive way to look at things, right?
This feels like the doctor thing from last episode. I don't trust it.
Not quite.
Okay.
So this committee's convened and they look at the evidence and they conclude that the story was true. This kid had been abused. What Field had done was sexual abuse. Okay. Their investigation, in fact, found not only did he abuse this kid, but he had a pattern of what could credibly be called criminally sexual behavior, including forcing his Boy Scouts to play strip poker and run around naked after losing games, which is not ever like that's not even a gray area.
That's not part of it.
Yeah, strip poker is not really inside the Boy Scouts milieu, you know?
Yeah. And also like running around naked is not part of it. That's never, you can play strip poker.
I mean, it kind of was from the start actually, but it shouldn't have been.
They were just finding new and clever ways to get kids to run around naked.
Yeah. I mean, it's what it is when we talk about like naked swimming, running around naked. Like, I believe very strongly that nudities, there's nothing wrong or inherently sexual about nudity. It shouldn't be like this thing where the idea that like people are doing things naked is like lascivious. Right. But clearly Baden-Powell and a number like the men found it lascivious. And so that's a problem. Like,
yeah, it ended up being one of their favorite things. So
yeah, that's an issue. That's going to be an issue, you know? Yeah. So they find out this guy not only molests this kid, but he has a history of very criminal. I suspect it is illegal to make children play strip poker. Like, I think that is a crime.
Yeah.
Not a law knower, but that seems crimey.
I don't know the exact number, letter, statute, but that seems not legal.
That seems like a thing that seems like a thing we don't allow. Like, I have to think that's against some law.
It's gotta be in there somewhere.
Yeah, probably contributing to the delinquency of a minor or something. I don't know. Whatever. Something not right about that. But the Boy Scouts don't report him to the police. They don't report him to anyone, in fact. They remove him, they kick him out of the Boy Scouts, but the only report they make about this is from a regional Boy Scouts employee who fills out a form on field and sends it to headquarters, and that form is placed in the P files. So that's all that happens. National officials told the regional official that this meant that Fields would never be able to work in or volunteer for the Boy Scouts again. And yet, from a report in the Los Angeles Times, quote, he was involved with several Southern California troops over the next 17 years, according to his file. Contacted recently by the Times, Field explained that after he failed a lie detector test required by the Santa Monica Troop Committee, he was encouraged to transfer to another troop in the city, where he served as scoutmaster for 4 years.
God damn it.
He fails a lie detector, and they're like, you just got to go to another troop, bro.
Oh my God.
What the fuck?
Just do what they do at the corner liquor store when someone has fucking
put a picture of him up on the wall.
Yeah, put a picture on the wall. Just say, not
Jesus
that guy.
Christ.
It's so easy, dude. Oh my God.
Your job is protecting children. Show at least as much care as a liquor store clerk over a bounced check.
What the fuck?
So the fucking Field tells the Los Angeles Times, they said it had all been cleared up with the Scouts. How do you clear this out? In Valencia, he joined his brother-in-law's troop, but left after a parent intercepted a love letter he had written to a scout, the file shows. At one point, the file says, Field was caught watching pornography with naked scouts in his jacuzzi.
Jesus fuck.
I know.
Someone stop this guy.
17 years of this.
Oh, come on.
17 years. This isn't 20 years later, he changed his name and his identity and moved across the country and he just snuck his way into it. No, he just shows up. One group is like, yeah, you failed the I promise not to molest kids part of the lie detector. Here, go to this other group. Bring your jacuzzi with you.
All right. You're out of the Silmar chapter of the Scouts. And then you just
you know what? Glendale's recruiting.
Oh, my God.
It's super fucked up. Again, there were at its height 7 million boys in the Boy Scouts.
Oh.
Some of them were always, and I'm not being callous here, it is inevitable in any population of 7 million boys. Some of them will get molested by adults, right? The fact that this is a thing that happens is not inherently the fault of the Boy Scouts. But as this example shows, they are criminally irresponsible in taking any attempts to stop it. That's the problem. It's not that like there are some bad apples. It's that they're kind of like the cops. They just like they enable the bad apples.
No, it's like they literally have a basket of like with a foundation of poison, and they're going, oh, some of these apples are bad. It's like you've poisoned the fucking basket.
Yeah, you poured cyanide into an apple basket. Like, and then you pissed in it.
This is directly your fault.
Yeah. Now, among other things, that story is why I think jacuzzi ownership should require a license. But beside the point.
Fair.
That's another two-parter. Now, despite the fact that this guy had repeatedly engaged in what I think we can agree is pretty outrageous and public abuse of children, the BSA national office didn't realize he'd snuck back into the organization until 1988. Again, almost 20 years. And they only realized this because another local scouting official reported that Steve Field, who was at that point chairman of a local troop committee, had been arrested for masturbating in front of a child. So he doesn't get kicked out by the Boy Scouts. He gets arrested by the cops. And a local scout is like, oh, hey, you guys should know this guy, turns out he was a child molester. This local official doesn't know this guy has a record, but he sends this in to report this guy. And the people who run the P-files are like, oh, Steve Field is the same as Stephen Field. How could we have known? His ingenious criminal mind.
God damn, dude. They're just like, the cop comes in and goes like, oh, this guy, he's got arrested, for masturbation. And they're like, oh, you mean Creepy Steve?
Oh, Creepy Steve, the rapist. Steve, the rapist is raping?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. God in heaven.
Oh, he's been doing that.
He's been doing that for a while. That's why we call him Creepy Steve. Yeah. Oh, wacky Steve. Don't leave him alone with your kids. Anyway, he's in charge of the kids. So, for what it's worth, once the sheriff's department actually got involved with Steve's case, which should have fallen into their lap around 20 years earlier, they launch a serious investigation. And again, all of the police aside, one of the things they have a better record of taking seriously, although not a perfect one, because a lot of cops are child molesters. Generally, detectives who find out kids are being raped are like, well, this is probably important, right? It's just the thing, even if you're a fucking cop. Most people, you hear a child is being abused, and you're like, well, yeah, we gotta fucking do something about this. Yeah.
Most cops, obviously a cab, but not CAD.
All cops do not deliberately enable child molestation.
Right, yeah. Whatever that acronym spells out.
They hear about this guy, and generally this is the case, like 20 years in, like with these abusive adults, and that's when finally shit happens. This guy gets arrested, and it's because like the BSA can't hide it anymore.
Right.
Child pornography was found in Fields' home. Photos he'd taken of nude Boy Scouts as far back as 15 years ago are found. And when the cops realized this guy has been preying on Boy Scouts for more than a decade, they asked the national office, do you have a file on this guy? And the BSA sends the P file for Field to them. But they send it along with a request. And here's the ACAB part, because the cops abide by this request. We hope you will use this information with discretion, since we have tried to maintain our files so they cannot be subpoenaed in any legal action.
Wow.
If your cops are better people than they are, if you're a decent person, my first question would be, this guy raped kids. Why don't you want this subpoenaed? Like, why are you not like throwing your doors open to this? Like, why not let this be? He's raping kids. Like,
God. I mean, so the cops, they abided by just an arbitrary, like, oh, if you could do us a favor and like,
they're probably all Boy Scouts.
Oh, fuck.
A lot of cops, like fucking half of Congress people were Boy Scouts, or like half congressmen or whatever, like a huge percentage. Like almost all of our recent presidents have been either Boy Scouts or Eagle Scouts. Jeez. Like it actually does mean a lot to a lot of it. So like, here's a story that could have gone badly from my childhood. When I was a kid, I think like 13 or 14, I would go every Saturday. I would go with my friends to a hobby store and we would play Warhammer. And then we at one point started wanting to play D&D, which I'd started playing in the Scouts. And like, the people who we found to play with us were, this guy was like 19 at the time. He just graduated high school and was in college. And a dude who was almost 30, who's like an engineer. And that dude invites us all like, well, on Saturday night, since the hobby shop closes like 5, just come over to my house and we'll all play D&D until like midnight. And like my parents hear this and they're like, okay, well, that's a little quite. He's like almost 30. Like, this concerns us. And this other guy's an adult too. But both of them were Eagle Scouts. So my parents were like, okay. Yeah. And it was like, they was fine. Like, nothing, like those people were huge positive influences on me. Like, I don't want to, like, I'm trying, they were both very positive parts of my youth. But like, that's why my parents trusted them, as they were Eagle
There's
Scouts.
an intrinsic trust in like, oh, these people are part of this organization that I have nothing but.
Yeah. And my dad was an Eagle Scout, you know?
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, just culturally, I think this is part of why the cops play ball with the BSA for so long and don't make more of an issue about this, is that like a lot of them were probably Boy Scouts, some of them were probably fucking troop leaders, you know?
Yeah.
You know, there were a bunch of like cop kids and stuff in Boy Scouts when I was in the Scouts. Obviously.
But I mean, it's kids getting fucked. It's like, that's why.
But I think from the cops' perspective, is like, well, we're getting this guy, and we don't want to tarnish, because they're cops. Like, they protect organizations from shitty. They're like, cops are often horrified at things other cops do. They just cover it up because they believe in the institution. I think they're willing to do that for the Boy Scouts.
But they have so much room for it's one of those things. It's like,
I'm not defending it. Please do not. I'm just explaining the thought process. I think
I'm just thinking about it. It's like, if I'm a cop and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna back up all these cops no matter fucking what, and then someone throws out another organization like, oh yeah, this is like the rape organization. You're like, all right, I have room in my moral compass for one more organization to defend.
It is worth noting that at this point, they're not thinking about this as the rape organization. This is the 70s. This is the Boy Scouts. We don't want to let another. This is already terrible. We don't want to also defame this beautiful organization that does a lot of good at the same time.
Yeah.
It is not until I think the first really big academic quality work on sexual abuse within the Boy Scouts is that book we've been quoting from, Scouts Honor, which we'll have linked in. The whole book is available online right now. It was published in 1994 by a guy named Patrick Boyle. And it was, it was, I don't think it did super well at the time, obviously. I think he got a lot of shit for publishing it, but it is
not a fun read.
Of the heroes in the story, one of them has to be Patrick Boyle for being in 1994, like, people need to know that this is a systemic problem. And totally. It was not until 3 or 4 years ago that it became mainstream knowledge how systemic the problem was. He's well ahead of the curve.
Yeah, because I started hearing about this stuff with the
2017, 18.
Right, yeah. And the fact that this book came out in 93 is crazy to me.
Yeah. And you know what else is ahead of the curve?
This is the products
and services that support this podcast. Way ahead of the curve. The Patrick Boyles of their day.
Good.
I would say. Okay.
Hi, this is Joe Winterstein, host of the Spirit Daughter podcast, where we talk about astrology, natal charts, and how to step into your most vibrant life. And I just sat down with a Minnie Driver.
The Irish traveler said when I was 16, you're going to have a terrible time with men.
Actor, storyteller, and unapologetic Aquarian visionary. Aquarius is all about freedom loving and different perspectives. And I find a lot of people with strong placements in Aquarius are misunderstood. A Sun and Venus in Aquarius in her 7th house spark her unconventional approach to partnership.
He really has taught me to embrace people sleeping in different rooms, on different houses, in different places, but just an embracing of the isness of it all.
If you're navigating your own transformation or just want a chart side view into how a leading artist integrates astrology, creativity, and real life, this episode is a must listen. Listen to the Spirit Daughter podcast starting on February 24th on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
I'm Clayton Eckerd, and in 2022, I was the lead of ABC's The Bachelor.
Unfortunately, it didn't go according to plan. He became the first bachelor to ever have his final rose rejected. The internet turned on him.
If I could press a button and rewind it all, I would.
But what happened to Clayton after the show made even bigger headlines. It began as a one-night stand and ended in a courtroom, with Clayton at the center of a very strange paternity scandal.
The media is here. This case has gone viral.
The dating contract.
Agree to date me, but I'm also suing you.
Please search warrant.
This is unlike anything I've ever seen before.
I'm Stephanie Young. This is Love Trapped. This season, an epic battle of he said, she said, and the search for accountability in a sea of lies.
I have done nothing except get pregnant by the
Listen to Love Trapped on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
What if mind control is real?
If you could control the behavior of anybody around you, what kind of life would you have?
Can you hypnotically persuade someone to buy a car?
When you look at your car, you're going to become overwhelmed with such good feelings.
Can you hypnotize someone into sleeping with you?
I gave her some suggestions to be sexually aroused.
Can you get someone to join your cult?
NLP was used on me to access my subconscious.
NLP, aka Neuro-Linguistic Programming, is a blend of hypnosis, linguistics, and psychology. Fans say it's like finally getting a user manual for your brain.
It's about engineering consciousness.
Mind Games is the story of NLP. Its crazy cast of disciples and the fake doctor who invented it at a New Age commune and sold it to guys in suits. He stood trial for murder and got acquitted. The biggest mind game of all? NLP might actually work.
This is wild.
Listen to Mind Games on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
1969. Malcolm and Martin are gone. America is in crisis. And at Morehouse College, the students make their move.
These students, including a young Samuel L. Jackson, locked up the members of the Board of Trustees, including Martin Luther King Sr. It's the true story of protest and rebellion in Black American history that you'll never forget. I'm Hans Charles.
I'm Menelik Lumumba.
Listen to The A Building on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
We're back. So, Field gets arrested for abusing two 13-year-old boys and sentenced to 12 years in prison. When the LA Times found him, because he's out of prison by the time, these LA Times articles are very recent. We'll talk about why. And I'm reading from a bunch of different LA Times articles because they have done, as far as I can find, the best journalistic reporting on abuse within the Boy Scouts. So when they find this guy, right, because he's out of prison now, he's working, I think he's a fucking lawyer or something. No, it might have been in finance, I forget exactly, but they find him, he's like out and free and like working, and they interviewed him, and he admitted to abusing the kids he'd been convicted of abusing, but denied allegations that he'd abused any other kids, even though absolutely abused
of course.
A bunch of other kids. Yeah. The Times informed him that he'd been on a blacklist since 1971 in the Boy Scouts. And when they said, like, did you know the Boy Scouts had a file blacklisting you? He told them, like, no, I had no idea. That's surprising because I was able to stay in the Boy Scouts for like 20 additional years. Yeah.
I was in the Boy Scouts. Yeah.
The child molester told them, it's like a no-fly list. If your name is on the no-fly list, you shouldn't be able to get on a plane. Like, the pedophile is baffled by how easy it was for him to get back into the Boy Scouts. Like, yeah, they really shouldn't have allowed this. Like, you're not wrong, pedophile, but like, you're not wrong. This is a problem.
I don't know. That sounds like a miscarriage of justice to me.
Yeah, as the guy who raped those kids, you have accurately identified the issue. Or molested, like, I don't know. Like, so, yeah, and it is that really, like, that goes to show how fucked up the BSA is, because when the pedophile your organization allowed to repeatedly harm children in your care throws shade on you for your irresponsibility in letting him in, that's an epic fuck up. Like, you have failed so comprehensively, I don't have a word for it.
Yeah, there's a signal there that you should probably be reading.
Yeah. That Times article goes on to tell the story of Scoutmaster Alan C. Dunlap of Fresno, California, who was arrested in 1973 on suspicion of having abused several children. Dunlap pled guilty to 4 counts of molestation and was committed to a psychiatric hospital. The Scouts created yet another P-file on him. 13 years later, in 1986, Dunlap was out of the hospital and registered as a Scout volunteer in Bryan, Texas.
God damn it.
Yeah, you're going to be saying that a lot, my friend. It does not appear that anyone even checked the blacklist before registering him, which gets at the chief problem with the whole system. The BSA actually did a pretty good job of documenting guys who had been caught or accused of sexual assault, right? They're very thorough in, like, when stuff gets in, they do put it all in this file, but there's still again, remember, Baden-Powell doesn't want there to be a big barrier to entry. There's, for most of this period, the 60s, 70s, 80s, there's no real screening process. So again, as we said, like, that one scout troop had, like, they chose to do, like, a polygraph test, which polygraphs are problematic. And obviously they just sent him to another troop. So, like, it did nothing. There are, though, it's worth noting, individual, because it's a very decentralized organization. Some troops do have really good, like, policies in order to screen people. But nationally, there's nothing. And this blacklist, only a handful of people at the top have access to it. And they don't run every name through it. Like there's no, when a guy joins a scout troop in fucking Texas, they don't, or in fucking Maine, they don't send his name in to the national file to scan it. They do nothing. They only find out afterwards. So it's useless. It's fucking, other than like as documentation that a lot of guys are repeatedly molesting kids in the Boy Scouts. It's useless.
It's just a fun way to get a nice list going, but there's nothing you can possibly do.
It does
with
nothing
the list.
to protect children or very close. The Boy Scouts say like, well, no, there's actually this X number of men that we stopped because they were in the blacklist and someone recognized it. So, not to say it never happened, but like clearly it was not an effective protective system and they knew it at the time. Of course, so after this guy gets, this dude is arrested and kicked out of the Scouts in 1973 after abusing some children. 13 years later, he becomes a Scout volunteer in Bryan, Texas, and he immediately gets back to sexually assaulting children. He was eventually caught and pled guilty to abusing a 9-year-old Cub Scout. He was sentenced to 12 years in prison. A local official learned this and called the National BSA office to report Dunlap so he could be added to the P files. And the national office realized they already had a file on the guy.
Probably a different guy. It's
they added it. Here's what they do, actually. It's even worse than that. They just add a note to his file. 4 words. Convicted again, child molestation.
God.
Jesus Christ.
Come on.
Come on, guys.
Addendum. He done it again.
He done it again. We might have a problem here, Cletus.
Oh, my God.
This is all pretty bad, but it gets worse. Worse. Both of those, actually. The LA Times writes, quote, in some instances, the Boy Scouts of America chose to give alleged molesters a second chance. In a 1992 deposition, Ernst, then keeper of the national file, testified that alleged abusers were given probation, which required periodic updates on the person's behavior only if evidence of molestation was, quote, extremely weak. An individual's confidential file was generally destroyed after probation was completed, but the file sometimes survived when the men went on to abuse again. Several of those cases suggest the initial evidence of abuse was strong. Again, the BSA policy is err on the side of believing the child molester when he denies having molested a kid.
Oh, my God. My fucking God.
Yeah, and I'm sure there you could find there have to be statistically millions of people. A couple of cases of kids who lied because they were angry at it. I'm sure it happened.
Statistically,
we have maybe, thousands, minimum hundreds and hundreds, and probably like by some accounts thousands of cases of people molesting kids repeatedly within the Boy Scouts. Like but again, they err on the side of protecting the adult, not the children, and their entire job should be to protect these children, right?
I mean, that's literally what their job is. It's like teaching them how to fend for themselves and how to fucking...
I mean, again, my scoutmaster, who was he was a great scoutmaster. He did something horrible for Raytheon that we don't know entirely what. Like a bunch of the guys who taught me how to camp were all Raytheon engineers. It's like Plano. Like but anyway, his attitude was, my only job is to stop kids from dying. So like, you go out there, he would teach us anything we wanted to learn. He would help us learn, but he didn't do anything for you. So if you were miserable for days, if you fucked up, if your shit got soaked, if you like lit your tent on fire, like, yeah, you can camp out under the stars or whatever. Like, my only job is to stop you from dying because it's about self-reliance. But still he took safety, like our physical health, very seriously. And that's not what the Boy Scouts are protecting the adults above the children, like the organization nationally. And again, I had a lot of great scout leaders who, while they may have been war criminals, always put the safety of the kids in the Boy Scouts.
The American kids.
I didn't know what Raytheon was at the time.
Yeah, not the Iraqi kids.
Yeah, I mean, good God only knows what they were actually like working on. But yeah,
you can only care about so many kids, Robert.
Yeah, you can. Look. So, for an example of how the Boy Scouts would protect and give second chances to child molesters, let's talk about Mark F. Bumgarner. He was a 21-year-old assistant scoutmaster in North Carolina. In September 1978, he was at Camp Shield, helping to manage a camp with several other adult leaders. Late one night, after most scouts and adults had went to bed, he struck up a conversation with another boy. I think they're just like sitting around a campfire, and they talk for a while. Everybody else goes to sleep. And quite suddenly, when they're alone, Bumgarner sticks his hand into the boy's pants and fondles his genitals. The boy tells him to stop, so Bumgarner says, "The cartilage in your penis is similar to your nose, and I can break it."
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, I try not to get on the whole, like, vengeance side of things, but just shoot that guy.
Yeah, just fucking
shoot that guy.
dude.
Just shoot that guy. We don't need that guy.
Kill that dude.
Like, just kill that guy.
That is just like, sometimes you fantasize about a righteous kill,
Yeah.
That would be one.
Yeah, just little shallow grave in the woods,
Just
that's
like
all,
making
that's all
it,
that
like,
guy needs.
the earth, just the planet just benefits a little bit from this one murder.
I think when you threaten to break a child's penis when your hand, if he tells about you molesting him, you don't deserve to live anymore.
You don't deserve to live.
That's the end of your right to exist, I argue. Is my opinion.
It's funny because like before this podcast, I never thought there were levels of pedophilia in which I would.
That's a high one, right?
Yeah, that's one. Is like, oh, he's like, I mean, pedophilia is evil, but he's like evil and evil.
Yeah,
he's like,
I think pedophiles are disgusted by that. Like, I mean, because anyway, like that. That's like the worst level probably of pedophilia that I can imagine is that kind of thing. Yeah, that's the top of the pedophile pyramid. Yeah. So after this horrifying experience, the kid went to his father, who reported this to the Boy Scouts rather than to the police. The BSA investigated the matter, and after what the National Office described as considerable discussion, decided that Bumgarner deserved a second chance.
Of all!
Because again,
this is the second chance guy?
It would be still bad, but different if it was like, well, he was caught massaging a boy in his jacuzzi and the boy's shirt was off and like whatever. Like that's bad to let that go on. He threatened to break a child's penis.
He molested a kid.
How do you give a
him
second chance to that?
Jesus fucking Christ.
The reason why is because Bumgarner was an Eagle Scout and the son of the pastor whose church sponsored the troop.
Yeah, there it is.
So he kept working for the Boy Scouts, spending time in close proximity with children absolutely unmonitored. He was arrested several months later for sexually abusing 2 scouts during a campout. He pled guilty and was expelled by the National Office, who added yet another name to the P-files. 6 years later... Oh, yeah. You thought this was done? You thought we were done with Bumgarner?
I don't know.
Come on.
I did.
6 years later, Bumgarner gets out of jail and back into the Boy Scouts. He moves from North Carolina to Virginia, and he becomes assistant district commissioner to the Fairfax Boy Scouts. This was 1984. It was 2 years later, 1986, before the national organization realized that this pedophile had gotten back in. They didn't find it out on their own. They got convicted.
Convicted pedophile.
Yeah, and they only find out that he's gotten back in because he gets convicted again. He gets caught sexually battering 2 boys and sentenced to 6 years in prison.
Just like, just this constant...
How could we have known?
How could we have known every single time?
Yeah, the Los Angeles Times continues. Probation was also given to Floyd David Slusher, a 19-year-old staffer at a Boy Scout camp in Germany who was caught abusing a scout in 1972 and sent home to the United States. Even after he was caught, they had to physically restrain him from attempting to visit the scout he was molesting, a Scouts official wrote to headquarters. A file was opened, but Slusher was allowed to continue working with Scouts. So again, another Boy Scout leader's like, this guy is such fucking pedophile that we had to physically stop him from going after this kid after we caught him. Like,
it's like a cartoon of a pedophile.
Yeah,
it's like a Family Guy.
And the Boy Scouts are like, this guy deserves a second chance.
Yeah. When did this second chance program start existing?
Because you hear that, like, oh, they gave a second chance. You assume it's something like, oh, he like showed them some weird pictures and they decided there was plausible, which again is not okay. But no, these guys are like, this is hardcore shit.
These are like, convicted fucking pedophiles.
Child rapists. Yeah. And they're just like, yeah, I feel like we give him a second chance.
We had to physically restrain the guy from doing more molestations.
Yeah.
He's just like, come on, let me go. They're like, well, it was romantic. So
Slusher also shouldn't let a guy named Slusher do damn near anything. That's not an okay name. That's not an okay name. Cool. So he's allowed to keep working with the Scouts, and he goes on to molest at least 8 boys in a Boulder, Colorado troop, threatening to kill them if they told anybody, according to the Boulder County Sheriff's Department. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. The detective in Boulder County wrote, quote, almost every Boy Scout in Troop 75 and Troop 73 has been approached sexually by Slusher on one time or another, adding that the victims are too numerous to interview. The detective's like, I can't interview all the kids he molested because, like, I don't have that kind of time.
Oh, my God.
The Boulder police don't have the time to talk to all of this guy's victims.
We're not authorizing any OT right now, so we can't investigate this single person.
I mean, in fairness, they probably had plenty to put him away, and he pleads guilty to one account of sexually assaulting a child. The Boy Scouts continued the practice of offering probation and suspension to prominent men accused of abuse until 1988 as the result of a high-profile abuse case in San Mateo, California. Richard Stingler was the adult head of a Sea Scouts unit, which is kind of like for older boys, closer to adulthood, like elite, like you're doing like boat shit, right? Like it's doing cool stuff. It actually was the thing I wanted to do, but Texas is not as easy to do that kind of stuff. So
like the Boy Scout Navy?
Yeah, the Boy Scout Navy. Yeah, the Sea Org of the Boy Scouts.
Yeah. You gotta, that's always a red flag whenever your organization starts a Sea Org.
When they have a Navy. It's especially a red flag for the Navy.
Yeah.
I think all the Marines in the audience would agree with that.
Yeah. But like, there's the Goop Cruise. Like, it's like the Boy Scouts.
When you take to sea, probably an issue.
As soon as someone says,
good people don't take to sea. By the way, I'm crowdfunding to buy a yacht for all of my followers to live on. We're going to sail around the ocean. We're going to look for gold.
It's international waters. Anything
international
goes.
waters, baby. There's no laws in international waters. We'll make our own society, our own civilization.
Stop it.
Sophie, come on.
Come on. That would be sick.
No hubbarding. No hubbarding.
All right. Well,
you're no fun.
Here's some ads.
Hi, this is Jo Winterstein, host of the Spirit Daughter podcast, where we talk about astrology, natal charts, and how to step into your most vibrant life. And I just sat down with a Minnie Driver.
The Irish traveler said when I was 16, you're going to have a terrible time with men.
Actor, storyteller, and unapologetic Aquarian visionary. Aquarius is all about freedom-loving and different perspectives, and I find a lot of people with strong placements in Aquarius are misunderstood. A Sun and Venus in Aquarius in her 7th house spark her unconventional approach to partnership.
He really has taught me to embrace people sleeping in different rooms, on different houses, in different places, but just an embracing of the isness of it all.
If you're navigating your own transformation or just want a chart-side view into how a leading artist integrates astrology, creativity, and real life, this episode is a must listen. Listen to the Spirit Daughter podcast starting on February 24th on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
I'm Clayton Eckerd, and in 2022, I was the lead of ABC's The Bachelor.
Unfortunately, it didn't go according to plan. He became the first bachelor to ever have his final rose rejected. The internet turned on him.
If I could press a button and rewind it all, I would.
But what happened to Clayton after the show made even bigger headlines. It began as a one-night stand and ended in a courtroom, with Clayton at the center of a very strange paternity scandal.
The media is here. This case has gone viral.
The dating contract.
Agree to date me, but I'm also suing you.
Please search warrant.
This is unlike anything I've ever seen before.
I'm Stephanie Young. This is Love Trapped. This season, an epic battle of he said, she said, and the search for accountability in a sea of lies.
I have done nothing except get pregnant by the Bachelor!
Listen to Love Trapped on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
What if mind control is real?
If you could control the behavior of anybody around you, what kind of life would you have?
Can you hypnotically persuade someone to buy a car?
When you look at your car, you're going to become overwhelmed with such good feelings.
Can you hypnotize someone into sleeping with you?
I gave her some suggestions to be sexually aroused.
Can you get someone to join your cult?
NLP was used on me to access my subconscious.
NLP, aka Neuro-Linguistic Programming, is a blend of hypnosis, linguistics, and psychology. Fans say it's like finally getting a user manual for your brain.
It's about engineering consciousness.
Mind Games is the story of NLP. Its crazy cast of disciples and the fake doctor who invented it at a New Age commune and sold it to guys in suits. He stood trial for murder and got acquitted. The biggest mind game of all? NLP might actually work.
This is wild.
Listen to Mind Games on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome to the A Building. I'm Hans Charles.
I'm Menelik Lumumba. It's 1969. Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. had both been assassinated, and Black America was at a breaking point. Rioting and protests broke out on an unprecedented scale.
In Atlanta, Georgia, at Martin's alma mater, Morehouse College, the students had their own protest. It featured two prominent figures in Black history, Martin Luther King Sr. and a young student, Samuel L. Jackson.
To be in what we really thought was a revolution. I mean, people were dying.
1968, the murder of Dr. King, which traumatized everyone.
The FBI had a role in the murder of a Black Panther leader in Chicago.
This story is about protest. It echoes in today's world far more than it should, and it will blow your mind.
Listen to the A Building on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
We're back. I'm just sad. Sophie won't let me Hubbard.
Nope.
All right. Well. Okay. So this guy, Richard Stingler, in 1971 is the head of a Sea Scouts unit. And in 71, he gets charged with tying up and groping 3 boys. This was the thing I alluded to in the first episode with the restraints. Yeah.
Is that like a not? Did you get a merit badge for how good?
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate to say this, but a Boy Scout troop leader is probably in the most able to tie up a boy because he's probably pretty good at knots.
That really makes that merit badge a lot darker.
It does. It's not great. So he gets convicted in 71 and sentenced to 3 years of probation, which I might argue the court system failed there too, because I think tying up and groping boys probably more than 3 years probation.
People
I might
get
argue
longer for like smoking weed.
For like pot. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, the Scouts suspended him during this period, but they didn't kick him out. When his probation ended, a local Scout executive and a number of parents lobbied for his suspension to be lifted. So clearly this guy had some sort of charisma, was good at like convincing parents. I don't know what he fucking told them. Maybe like it was a merit badge thing gone wrong. But parents lobby for this guy, which is unsettling. I mean, this is not an unheard of kind of situation. Like this occurs in other organizations and whatnot.
Sure, it's just like, I mean, to me, the Catholic Church, I'm not
Catholic
excusing
Church
it.
Would be one of them, yeah.
But I understand a little bit more having like basically the guy who talks to God being an important figure in your life, and like standing up for the organization and the church, and maybe even a specific priest in the church who's been accused of something, because you're like, that dude talks to God. Who am I to question that guy? These are fucking volunteer scout masters. These are doing like cosplay and teaching you how to whittle, and they're just like, no, but he's a good dude.
Yeah, he's a fucking good dude. Like it. I mean, there's actually just a tremendous amount in common with like the Boy Scouts and how this works, and like and the Catholic Church. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Jesus Christ. Let's get back into this. So this guy, after tying up and molesting several boys, does 3 years probation. And when it ends, he gets successfully reinstituted to the Boy Scouts. The local scout officer who lobbied for him being brought back in wrote, quote, "I feel quite confident that no further problems will arise."
Just an organization of marks. Everyone is a fucking mark.
Yeah. 14 years later, in 1989, a parent reported that Stinger had padlocked her 11-year-old boy in a harness and watched as he hung in the air during a boat trip. So that's good. That's fine. The BSA called the police, and the police go to Stinger's home, and they search it, and they find dozens of restraints and an enormous cache of child pornography, naked photos that he took of boys that he had blindfolded and like tied to things. At least one is a picture of a naked 6-year-old boy that he blindfolded and tied to a bed. Profound child abuse on and again, they catch him 14 years later. He's doing this the whole time. That's what the photos show, that he'd been the whole time he gets back in. He's just tying up and molesting kids.
So wait, did they called the cops when what did he do to the kid? He like tied him up?
I don't even know if this was sexual or if he was just like being a dick, probably both, but he'd like padlocked an 11-year-old boy in a harness and hung him in the air during a boat trip. So his mom is just like, that's physical abuse. I don't think she called it a sexual abuse. She was just like, that's assault.
That's when they called the cops. They were
his mom calls the cops. Like, to her credit, this is probably the first she's aware anything's wrong. And she immediately was like, yeah, we need to deal with this shit. And the cops search his house and find out that he has been tying up and restraining and molesting kids for 14 years and has tons of pictures of it.
Jesus. So this guy's like both like a sexual abuser and just a literal fucking psychopath.
Yeah. This guy's
not that there's not bits of both, but
dangerous person. Yeah.
Fucking shit.
So when all this dropped, more than 24 former and current scouts came forward to report that they'd been abused by Stinger. Some had been victimized as early as 1958. Up until 2015, the chief scout executive, effectively the head of Boy Scouts, was a guy named Wayne Brock. Wayne got that august position in 2012 after a 4-year stint as the deputy chief scout executive. Before he held this national position, in 1987, Wayne was the local Boy Scouts executive for the state of Georgia. That year, a scoutmaster at a camp in his domain was accused of molesting a boy in a sleeping bag. Wayne followed procedure, which at the time meant documenting the allegation and sending that documentation on to Texas. The leader's name and crimes were added to the confidential files. The scoutmaster was expelled, but the police were not informed. He left town. Brock was promoted again and again, and eventually wound up running the Boy Scouts. As a different Los Angeles Times article notes, quote, as he and his recent predecessors rose through the ranks of scouting, they handled at least 120 cases of suspected sexual abuse dating from the mid-1970s, according to a Times analysis of confidential Boy Scout files. As district executives, it was their job to gather evidence and witness statements, determine whether to recommend a leader's expulsion, and report their findings to headquarters, which made the final decision. In the process, the officials had a front-row seat on cases in which scouting's abuse prevention policies failed. Although the officials may have followed scout policy and violated no laws, the files in several cases indicate that they did not inform authorities or their communities of suspected child molesters who were expelled from the organization. Ugh. So this is the guy who runs the Boy Scouts, right? This is his history, which isn't, he's not a molester himself, but he has a, shall we say, imperfect history of dealing with cases where kids are molested.
And they all of their last names are just red. We got Stinger, we got Brock, we got Slusher.
Yep. Like problems.
I mean, just like they sound like a really scary A team.
Yeah. So this is the guy who runs the Boy Scouts. And his predecessor, the guy who had headed the BSA before him, was a guy named Robert Mazuka. And before Robert
Another scary name.
I know. And before he ran the Boy Scouts, Mazuka spent 20 years as a regional scout executive in California and Pennsylvania. He dealt with numerous cases of child sexual abuse by adults in scouting. One of these was the case of David Cooley, an assistant scoutmaster in Pittsburgh who was expelled in 1997 after police found videos that he'd made of himself having sex with children. Cooley was eventually sentenced to 54 years in prison. When the case broke, it came out that Mazuka had earlier been arrested and convicted in 1987 for molesting a boy in South Carolina. He'd been allowed to volunteer in scouting and molest kids after that because the Boy Scouts did not require background checks at that point. And this brings us to a particularly dark part of the story.
Oh, are we going to get dark now, Robert?
Yeah, we're finally going to get dark, my man.
Good.
Yeah. So, if you'll remember, back at the very start of this story, back at the very start of scouting, Robert Baden-Powell had rejected the idea that scouting volunteers should be filtered under the justification that this would reduce the number of adults who volunteered and slow expansion. Now, At that time, even though kids were being molested, child sexual abuse was not a widely understood phenomenon. By the 1980s, this had changed. A number of high-profile cases of abuse of children had led several other leading youth groups to institute criminal background checks for their adult volunteers. Criminal background checks first became widely possible in 1985. And in 1986, the Big Brothers Big Sisters organization made this a requirement for volunteers. And the Boys and Girls Club did the same thing in the same year, 1986. So as soon as this becomes possible, responsible organizations who take care of kids are like, well, of course we should do criminal background checks on our adult volunteers, obviously. That just makes sense. The Boy Scouts don't do this. Scouting officials claimed that background checks would be too expensive and would scare away volunteers. Too expensive. Again, it would have cost tens of millions. They made hundreds of millions.
Yeah, I was going to say the fucking Boy Scouts.
They don't have the money. Cash during this period. God. Yeah.
Everyone's a volunteer or pays.
Yeah. So they said that, they also argued that doing so would at best provide a false sense of security. I just read how many stories of guys with criminal records getting back in the Boy Scouts.
They're like, listen, it's going to happen one way or another.
Let me promise you. Even with criminal background checks, we're not going to stop adults from molesting kids. That's just going to do it. It's still going to happen. Look,
all right, but.
We're the Boy Scouts. Our job is to help pedophiles scout for boys.
Yeah, that's the name of the organization. Oh, man.
Oh, God.
Be prepared is a motto that means be prepared to get molested.
Yeah, you be prepared for what the adults in this organization are going to do to you. Jesus. Oh. So the Boy Scouts didn't just refuse to require criminal background checks for their volunteers. They poured huge amounts of money into lobbying local governments because states start to be like, well, we as a state want to require FBI background checks for youth volunteers for organizations anywhere in the state. And the BSA lobbies local elected leaders to stop these laws.
I don't understand. Like at that
point, you're directly enabling it. This isn't passive at all.
I'm like, is this like an Epstein thing? Like, is this like
the fuck is going on with you people?
Purpose? At this point, it sounds on purpose. I can't even.
Yeah, I don't know
an
how much
ideological reason.
Yeah, I think some of it just because like this is the way it's always been. I think some of it is probably that there are pedophiles in the organization who are want this, and some of it might be. Well, shit, if we do this, people will find out how many adults have been molesting kids in the Boy Scouts.
Yeah.
And that's not going to be good for us.
Just burn the P file or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? I mean, God damn.
So the BSA did not ultimately start requiring criminal background checks for volunteers until, you want to guess what year?
Oh, 2003?
2008.
Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck. We have the internet.
Yeah. By this point, hundreds and possibly thousands of men with criminal histories of child molestation were allowed into the Boy Scouts. Most of these men went on to abuse more children. From the very earliest days after the decision not to require background checks, this was recognized as a problem. From yet another Los Angeles Times article. In 1989, a Scout Committee chairman in St. Paul, Minnesota, decried the organization's half-hearted screening in a letter to headquarters. BSA is only creating an illusion of performing what they claim, K. Russell Sias wrote to Scout Chief Executive Ben Love. It becomes quite clear that BSA is more concerned with passing the buck than in accepting responsibility for those who are its adult leaders. That same year, a Las Vegas scoutmaster with a criminal history of exposing himself to boys was arrested for sexually abusing a 12-year-old scout. One parent said casinos did a better job of screening workers.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The parent wrote to scouting officials, "The black eye which scouting has suffered in this could easily have been avoided if the council had taken the simple expedient of doing a background investigation."
I mean,
yup.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't understand it. At this point, was it the money? They didn't want to pay the money at that time?
That has to be some of it because of what we're about to talk about, because it gets worse. We have not hit bottom yet, Matt. Are you excited?
I'm just like, if my blood pressure goes any higher, I'm gonna fucking die.
Yeah, we have. Oh boy. So While the Boy Scouts are giving child molesters probation, covering up abuse, refusing background checks, yada, 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 children keep coming forward to tell their stories. And by the 90s, again, this book comes out in 93, it's getting more known, right, that this is a problem the organization has. And as a result, once it becomes clear to people, at least who pay attention, that like this might be a systemic issue, some parents of kids who get molested try to sue the organization, claiming a pattern of abuse enabled by the very structure of the BSA itself. Confronted with these threats in the form of children entrusted to the BSA and abused by men that organization had refused to properly vet, the Boy Scouts viciously attacked the victims and their families.
Ugh.
In one case, 2 boys in Michigan alleged that they had been molested, quote, hundreds of times by a troop leader. The BSA denied any responsibility and instead, in court, blamed their widowed mother. They claimed she had failed, quote, to provide adequate supervision over the volunteer they had approved.
Wow.
Yeah. It's your fault your kids got molested. You weren't watching hard enough over the guy that his whole job, according to the ethos of our organization, is to help like single moms raise their kids. You didn't. It's your fault that he.
Yeah, you should have done a background check on.
Yeah, you should have done a background check. Why didn't you do that? Yeah.
Don't you screen? Come on.
And it gets worse. From the LA Times, quote, in 2002, Gerald Schwartz, a 42-year-old former scoutmaster in New York, admitted to abusing a boy in his troop in the 1990s. After being secretly recorded saying he did something very, very wrong and apologizing to the boy, Schwartz pleaded guilty to 4 counts of sodomy and was sent to prison. Despite the conviction and the victim's testimony that Schwartz raped me and forced me to perform oral sex on him, the Scouts, in a motion to dismiss the subsequent lawsuit, contended that the sex was consensual.
What the fuck?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
We got to burn it down. This is really.
Yeah, we got to burn this shit down. This is not salvageable.
This is not salvageable. Holy fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, that's bad.
That's the worst. These guys are, you know what?
It's so much worse than I thought it was.
It is so, yeah, it really is. This is, I'm not pro scout no more.
No, this has definitely turned me around.
Honestly.
In the night, yeah.
Fuck them. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
In the 1980s, in Oregon, one man alleged that scouting troop leader Timur Dykes was allowed to continue his leadership position after he admitted to molesting 17 boys. And this kid had been molested them after that. Yeah. It took decades for one of the boys victimized by Dykes to seek legal recourse. But when he did at a trial in 2010, regional BSA official Eugene Grant blamed his parents for letting their children go to Dykes' apartment to work on merit badges and attend a scouting sleepover. Which, maybe there's some questionable parenting calls being made here, but you let him into your organization and let him stay after he molested 17 boys.
And also, like, you know, it's like you were saying, it's like you trust
him. He's an Eagle Scout, right?
Yeah. Fucking A.
But the Boy Scouts representative said in court, his parents should have known better. I think it's criminal. You let him stay in the Scouts after he admitted to molesting 17 boys, and the parents are the criminals? What the fuck is wrong with you?
These guys, we gotta.
I don't understand.
I'm not
how
gonna
you can say that in a court of law and not immediately burst into fire.
Yeah, I mean, just like murder is wrong, right?
Yeah, kind of.
In some cases, I'm not trying to say publicly right now anything that's going to get me in trouble, but I feel like sometimes murder is good. Is that
a weird thing to say? Yeah, that's a reasonable thing to feel hearing this story.
Like they said these words out loud, and the fact that no one was just like, I got to kill this guy about, where he stands.
The value of brickings. That's a brickin'. That's somebody should just be like, oh, okay, I got to hit this guy with a fucking brick. If we hit him in the face with a brick. Right, you don't get to say that and not get hit in the face with the brick. You know?
Holy shit.
That's brickin' words.
Very easy to brick that guy.
Thankfully, the Oregon jury rejected his line of argument and found the Scouts liable for almost $20 million in damages.
Nice.
This is the case. This is why we all know in mass about the problem now. This case breaks open the floodgates of abuse claims against the Boy Scouts. And it's during this case, part of the discovery in this, 1,200 of the P files are revealed and put into the public record because they're trying to show there's a pattern of abuse, right? These guys keep getting in and abused and the Boy Scouts let them in again. This is what led to all of the Los Angeles Times articles we've quoted so far. Because once these things are made public, because if it's introduced into like a legal case in that way, it's like anyone can see that shit.
Record, yeah.
So they start combing through this stuff, and they start doing like other stuff gets released. This is the blood in the water, you know?
Yeah.
Journalists start finding out other details of sordid Boy Scout sexual abuse history, and more victims start coming forward. An avalanche begins. One issue that confronted many victims is the fact that some states had very strict laws regarding the statute of limitation for sex crimes. So like a lot of these guys, they were abused in like the 50s, you know? And like now as an adult who's like, and these stories are heartbreaking. Some of these men are like, I was abused in like the 50s, the 60s. I was never able to like have a relationship that I was comfortable. I've never been able to feel intimate with anybody. Like this is, there's cases of people who commit suicide. One guy, he and his brother were molested, and he's like, yeah, my brother became addicted to drugs and died of an overdose. And like he never recovered from this, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's,
anyone who knows a victim of childhood sexual abuse knows how deep, like uniquely evil of an act it is to inflict upon somebody. And how, the stories are just fucking.
So when these guys start realizing I'm not alone, people will believe me now. And also maybe if I speak up, this will help to protect other kids, you know? So they start to come forward, but in a lot of states, they can't bring charges against the people who victimized them or the Boy Scouts because of the statute of limitations. So many states, when they realize how many of these kids are out there, to their credit, a bunch of state lawmakers put forward bills to expand the statute of limitations and allow charges to be pressed further away from the time of the abuse. To be like, well, shit, maybe we didn't make these laws considering everything that was happening, and like we need to allow these people a chance to get justice. The Boy Scouts spend a fortune in lawyers and lobbying fighting these bills wherever they crop up, once again devoting huge financial resources, which they'd said were not worth spending on background checks, to try and make it harder for boys victimized by BSA officials to seek justice. From the Washington Post, quote, the group retained lobbyists in Georgia and New York, where lawmakers say such action helped stall proposals that included look-back windows, allowing adults to take legal action over decades-old claims. It has hired lobbyists in Michigan, where similar proposals are being debated. The bills would give adults who were abused as children a second chance to file suit if they missed their first opportunity under state law. Opponents of the state proposals, including the Boy Scouts and Catholic Archdiocese, argued that open-ended look-back periods violate due process and would put groups in the tough position of defending themselves in cases from the distant past.
I love who the people, the organizations,
the Boy Scouts
involved.
And the Catholic Church coming together.
Coming together, just like a fucking rapey Voltron. Trying to be like, well, this is just wrong.
And this is, I want to belabor a bit on the argument they're making, which is that this is unfair because it puts us in the position of defending our organization from actions that we weren't in charge of the Boy Scouts on this app. This was 50 years ago.
Yeah.
It was a completely different group of men who were in charge. Like, how can we be held responsible today for the actions of two generations, leaders from two generations ago?
Yeah.
I don't think this is a good argument. For one thing, as we have discussed, the historical record shows that the BSA's attitude towards sex abusers and the ways in which you enable them and defend them has not wavered since the days of Robert Baden-Powell. From Baden-Powell's time to the fucking 2000s, the Boy Scouts are doing basically the same shit.
Yeah.
For another, the same officials who led the BSA in the late aughts had been the ones in the 70s and 80s, furthering the hide and ignore policies that enabled sexual abuse of children. In April of 2019, an expert who had been working with the BSA estimated that as many as 7,819 adult volunteers and staff members had sexually abused boys over the course of the BSA's history. He suggested they were responsible for harming as many as 12,254 victims. That's the BSA's expert, right? Now, if that were it, if that were the extent of the problem, this would be a huge problem. But it turns out that was a drastic underestimation. A little over a year later, in November of 2020, after a series of lawsuits and settlements, more than 100,000 alleged victims had come forward to claim they had been sexually assaulted as children in the Boy Scouts. So that's 100,000 who have said, I was a victim. I was assaulted publicly. In the Scouts. Yeah. And this is in the last year.
Fuck.
Yeah. The Boy Scouts have filed for bankruptcy, claiming to be devastated by the allegations. There's a number of fucked up things in the fallout of this. One of the worst things. So the Boy Scouts were stewards of a huge amount of wildlands, right, for campgrounds and stuff. And they were that they would take care of. they've sold a bunch of that to developers. A lot of that shit, this pristine
wow.
wild space, been turned into like housing developments and shit because the Boy Scouts went broke trying to defending themselves from all the rape that their members did. It's it's just like a comprehensively bleak story.
Oh my God. They can't even redeem themselves and make them like public lands. They're just immediately.
No, we got to sell it to pay for lawyers to attack these kids.
Hey, if I can't touch kids on this land, then I'm going to fucking build condos on it.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's the story of the Boy Scouts.
I hate it. It was,
yeah.
Oh my good God, dude. I mean, it's like,
yeah.
Usually when the name of the show Behind the Bastards, it's like, usually it's like the plural is because you have many episodes covering specific bastards. This is one, it was just like one bastard at the beginning and then just an endless slew of bastards.
Yeah.
And it's too many. I think I'm on bastard overload, and I want to do some righteous murder. Let's do a righteous kill together, dude.
Yeah. Let's go. Sophie, can we like get like write off some money for murder tools?
I mean,
can we do that?
Probably not, but I'll ask.
Well, what about a boat so that we could go to international waters?
Yeah, in international waters, it's legal, Sophie.
Stop trying to pull Hubbard.
But
come on.
All right.
It'll be like Sea Org, but a good one.
But a good Sea Org.
Yeah.
I think that people just haven't quite done it right.
Good Sea Org.
Well,
there could, but not yet.
Sophie, you have a very closed mind towards Sea Orgs, and I don't think that's fair to all the good Sea Orgs out there.
Yeah,
like the I don't know, the
surfers.
Dutch Navy.
Yeah, they'd probably chill.
Yeah. Sophie, come on.
No.
I don't think it's going to happen.
No.
I mean, we can do it on land, I guess. But the point is I'm currently furious and I'm disassociating. So I've had a really good time.
Yeah. So you had a good time on my show. Well, I'm sure everyone's dissociating now. So have a good time staring into the distance and
and just kind of like having my
dark
vision
thoughts.
Blur.
Yeah. Have a good time losing touch with your corporeal body as the rage within you becomes transcendent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
It's a type of drug. Rage is.
It is a type of drug. Rageahol. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just gonna get some Rageahol on right now. I need a Xanax.
Yeah. Rage out with your page out. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
Oh boy.
Matt, you got any pluggables to plug?
I do Sopranos podcast, Pod Yourself a Gun. Check it out. We're about to start season 6. By the time this comes out, season 6, episode 1 will be out. It's a great show. Film Drunk Fraudcast. That's us, but same guys talking about movies.
Right.
Wanted to dedicate this to my childhood friend Johnny Aaron. You listen to this show, Johnny Aaron. You're a good man. Sorry, it was the molestation one.
Ooh, this is a rough episode to get a shout out during.
But fucking hey, you can't all be winners. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And thanks for having me back.
Yep. Thanks for coming back. And also sorry.
Hi, it's Jill Winterstein, host of the Spirit Daughter podcast, where we talk about astrology, natal charts, and how to step into your most vibrant life. And today I'm talking with my dear friend, Krista Williams.
It can change you in the best way possible. Dance with the change, dance with the breakdowns.
The embodiment of Pisces intuition with Capricorn power moves.
So I'm like delusionally proud of my chart.
Listen to the Spirit Daughter podcast starting on February 24th on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
I'm Clayton Eckerd. In 2022, I was the lead of ABC's The Bachelor.
But here's the thing. Bachelor fans hated him.
If I could press a button and rewind it all, I would.
That's when his life took a disturbing turn. A one-night stand would end in a courtroom.
The media is here. This case has gone viral.
The dating contract.
Agree to date me, but I'm also suing you.
This is unlike anything I've ever seen before.
I'm Stephanie Young. Listen to Love Trapped on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm Nancy Glass, host of the Burden of Guilt Season 2 podcast. This is a story about a horrendous lie that destroyed 2 families. Late one night, Bobby Gumpright became the victim of a random crime. The perpetrator was sentenced to 99 years until a confession changed everything.
I was a monster.
Listen to Burden of Guilt Season 2 on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
What if mind control is real?
If you could control the behavior of anybody around you, what kind of life would you have?
Can you hypnotically persuade someone to buy a car?
When you look at your car, you're going to become overwhelmed with such good feelings.
Can you hypnotize someone into sleeping with you?
I gave her some suggestions to be sexually aroused.
Can you get someone to join your cult?
NLP was used on me to access my subconscious.
Mind Games, a new podcast exploring NLP, aka Neuro-Linguistic Programming. Is it a self-help miracle, a shady hypnosis scam, or both? Listen to Mind Games on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed Human.